Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video, and first off, apologies for my hair. It's gone crazy and curly and greying at the temples. I look like one of the Golden Girls at the moment. Zoomers, you can Google that. But anyway, I'm here to talk not about my hair, but two topics I've covered extensively on this channel, and two topics that, of course, are very much in the news and making headlines at the moment. That is, on the one hand, Activision-Blizzard. You can go and watch my video talking about their lawsuit with all the horrifying details that are coming out of the treatment of women in the workplace over there. Especially unpleasant given the past few years of their moral grandstanding, probably from some of the same people that have been embroiled in those awful occurrences. And the Overwatch League, which I've covered since its inception, because I've said for a while now its failure is going to have a profound impact on esports. It's just we're not really sure to which degree. More on that in a second. But let's first talk about the Activision-Blizzard lawsuit. If you've been under a rock, you won't have heard about it. So for all the people newly emerging into the sunlight, I'll give you the Cliff's Notes. Basically, Activision-Blizzard have found themselves subject to a lawsuit after a 2.5-year investigation from California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing. This lawsuit alleges, with a lot of anecdotal evidence to back it up, that there are a number of women that have been mistreated, horrifically so, in the worst possible ways, not just discrimination in terms of salary or being passed over for promotion, but direct sexual harassment and worse. And that Activision Blizzard have to pay for that. There has to be some form of atonement. Activision Blizzard's response was bullish rather than apologetic out of the gate. This has caused more problems, including mass walkouts at their California office and other things besides. And so what Activision Blizzard are now doing is essentially cleaning house and trying to get rid of as many of the offending parties as possible. And some, honestly, if they're not offending parties, but they were in managerial positions and it happened on their watch. Of course, Bobby Kotick's job will be absolutely safe, in case you were worried about that for a moment. Perhaps he might even find a way to spin this into a bonus opportunity once he's fired people. Seems to do well for himself, doesn't he, that fella? Anyway, I'm going to do a separate video on all the changes that have occurred as a result of that lawsuit, but let's move it over to how it impacts on the Overwatch League. And of course, the Overwatch League is Activision Blizzard's flagship esports league for a game that really hasn't had the cultural impact they'd hoped for. Really just hasn't had the impact in gaming they would have hoped for. I mean, you know, by any measurable metric we can see, it seems players are down, interest is down. There's a lot of complaints on the casual forums and on social media that, you know, the game just isn't fun, the balance is out of whack, and certainly the league has suffered as a direct result. I mean, a key component of a successful esport is you have to have this constant turnover of people playing the game, enjoying the game, wanting to compete at the game, and then, oh, look, those guys over there at the best at the game, I'll go watch them. It's all connected. It's all interconnected like that. And Overwatch has failed at almost every step in some fashion. When the lawsuit occurred, one of the things I hadn't anticipated was that sponsors and partners would want to walk away from the league because they don't want to be associated with Activision Blizzard anymore. And of course, this is a standard thing in some cases corporations will do. Not always, as we know. Certainly when it comes to the Uyghur Muslim atrocities that China are participating in, a lot of these corporations mysteriously don't have an opinion about it. Isn't that odd? But they certainly have an opinion about this. And so it was 6 days ago, we had the first high-profile sponsor just sort of disappear, and they haven't released an official statement even at the time of recording this, and that is T-Mobile. Bit of background, T-Mobile were one of the biggest sponsors secured in the very early days of the Overwatch League as a project. They even did their kind of a roadshow event in Vegas, if memory serves me correctly, and they are a huge brand in their own right. Now, what we noticed was that when the broadcast went out for both CDLs, but the Call of Duty League and the Overwatch League, suddenly the T-Mobile logo wasn't on all of the graphics anymore, and that is assumptively, no one has corrected the assumption that they have just decided they want to walk away from the league. Right now, certainly, it's too hot for them to be involved. And this is a massive blow. It's a seismic blow because that T-Mobile deal, it's not just the fact that it's got the longevity and the stand-in, and they clearly believe in the project to some degree because they re-upped, they came back for all of the issues. They've been there through all of it. It's a lot of money. The T-Mobile deal is a lot of cash. And that's instrumental to the whole way this league was conceived. Because everything Activision-Blizzard obsesses about now is profit and share price, and they're the only two considerations, and fuck everything else. When a big sponsor walks away from a league and suddenly the owners who've paid 20, 30 million to have slots in this league aren't getting that portion of the revenue share anymore, this is going to have repercussions down the road that we haven't got to yet. Of that, I'm absolutely sure, and you can rest assured I'm going to be digging into it. Now, the T-Mobile sponsorship walking away is actually big in the sense that they had lots of activations. They had this thing called Overwatch League perks by T-Mobile, and now when you go on the Overwatch League official Twitter, they aren't referring to them as the T-Mobile Overwatch League perks anymore. They're just perks. They just want people to vote. And so this implies that even the existing amount of time left on the contract might not even be served. We don't really know. I mean, they might just be taking a backward step temporarily, waiting to see the lay of the land. But when this story broke, and I think it might have broke on Deserto, I think Deserto were the first people to notice it and report on it, then suddenly you have this knock-on effect, because the other thing that happens in good old hypocritical corporate America, if one company takes a stand, all the other companies want to be seen to take that same stand. So whoever goes first, all the other companies are scrambling on, well, why didn't we think of that? Why can't we be the good guys this time? And so they follow on and follow on and follow on. Has very little to do with principles, honestly, because remember, we're talking about corporations. They don't have principles as a rule. You can't really afford to. When you're a collective entity that is only designed to make profit for the people at the top, it turns out ethics and morals are very much a secondary concern. But it's great optics. So over at Polygon, it was reported by the great Cass Marshall, someone I really respect. Don't let the factory rights at Polygon fool you. She's great. She did a report basically saying that CocaCola and State Farm were the next two big sponsors to take a backward step. She was picking up on the wording from the Washington Post report, which was that they were reassessing their relationship with the league. Now, Coca-Cola, their logo still appears at the moment on the graphics on the website, and that shouldn't surprise you. Bobby Kotick's on the board of Coca-Cola, and there was a lot of speculation at the time, and I think I put it in a report from a source inside of Blizzard that basically that was a deal he'd wrangled by himself. Certainly people believe that it was Bobby Kotick leveraging his influence over that board to get the sponsorship in. It was like an example of corporate cronyism. So it doesn't surprise me that their logo is still there, but they are still reassessing and probably waiting for the other people. But for State Farm, it seems that, yes, State Farm are going to be out. That was reported on August the 5th. And then next up, you have Kellogg's. Kellogg's, obviously maker of all the food and cereal products, the Kellogg's Corporation. They went and made an official statement. They have two products, Cheez-It Grooves and Pringles Wavy, were the two products that were specifically sponsoring the Overwatch League. And they released a statement with it saying that when they pulled out, so we find these allegations troubling and inconsistent with our commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion. While Activision-Blizzard has announced plans to address the challenging issues it faces, we will not be moving forward with any new programs this year, but will continue to review progress made against their plans. And so you end up now with this other report that came via way of Overbuff, which is a statistics measurement Twitter account. They said IBM have also withdrawn their sponsorship and no longer appear on the Overwatch League overlay on the partners page. And in fact, if you look at the partners page now, it's Xfinity, CocaCola hanging on there while they reassess, and TeamSpeak. And if CocaCola does go, suddenly your flagship league, the Overwatch League, has the type of sponsor that your average medium-sized Twitch streamer could get. And the optics of that are absolutely terrible. Of course, it's especially bad. There was a bunch of recent reports, with IBM about how they were using their AI technology to deliver cool stuff around the league. It was a very big media push about that. And so, yeah, I mean, this looks like people getting out. But let's assess whether or not that is indicative of a rejection of Activision-Blizzard or just the Overwatch League. Because when you go and look over at the Call of Duty League, now, fair enough, Call of Duty has very different sponsors in some cases, but the Call of Duty League seems to have only lost T-Mobile thus far. All their other sponsors are holding firm. That may change in the next day or two. But what that would lead me to deduce, and this could be incorrect because different corporations have different sensibilities and different perceptions about what the optics of a situation are. But what that leads me to believe is, there's no getting away from the fact that the Overwatch League has been a failure. There is no getting away from that. If this is considered a success in esports, our whole industry is going to go down the toilet because it's a huge spend for no growth. It's a huge spend for a reduction in profit. And look, I'm not saying there haven't been unique challenges around the Overwatch League. I don't hate it to some sort of psychotic degree that I can't understand reality. But the pandemic has been talked about a lot as being this big detrimental thing to esports. A lot of esports in terms of viewership and player base grew consistently throughout the pandemic. Overwatch didn't, and the Overwatch League viewership didn't. It was one of the few esports that people seemed to just continue to get bored of, even though everyone was stuck indoors with nothing to do. And as Monte Cristo put it on Twitter the other day, in some ways, the pandemic actually helped the Overwatch League. Because if they'd stuck to their original plan of people traveling all around the world and going to all these stadiums and hosting all these events, something that behind the scenes people still doubted whether or not they were ready for, it would have been a disaster, and it would have been very expensive. It would have, the costs suddenly start spiraling out of control. The fact they moved to the tournament-based format, the fact that suddenly it was all online and they came out and publicly released a statement saying, hey, we're going to do things online for the foreseeable future. We pivoted to that now. That all works in their favor, and it's probably given the league maybe even another season. Now, I don't know, because the one thing you can't anticipate is that all your dirty skeletons are going to come tumbling out of the closet all at once, as it has with Activision-Blizzard. And so people are going to be like, do I want to be associated with them right here, right now? And the answer, of course, is no, you don't, because there's probably worse to come. And this is before we even get to the lawsuit and whether or not Activision-Blizzard are going to settle. I mean, they could settle. It makes it go away. It's a tacit acknowledgement of guilt. A settlement is very often perceived to be that way, isn't it? When a celebrity settles out of court, you don't think, oh, they were innocent. You think, yeah, you've just got the money to buy people off. That's a common public perception. So, or they fight it, and if they fight it and there's discovery I guarantee worse things are going to come out of closets yet to be opened. And so people are right to back away from it. But what is interesting is that Call of Duty hasn't been similarly hit, and that's because the Call of Duty League, Call of Duty is all Activision-Blizzard is right now, frankly. It's their best product. It's their most successful product. It's the one that makes money. It's the one that has cultural impact. It's the one that they know is coming, at least one copy of it a year. And they can plan all their annual budgeting around it, and they do, and they've made it abundantly clear they want to make as many knockoffs of Call of Duty as possible. So actually being attached to the Call of Duty League, maybe not that bad actually. Maybe we just make a statement and say, yep, we stand with Activision-Blizzard on making changes actually, and that's why we're staying a part of the league. What I gather from all of this, there's a lot of sponsors who have basically said, fuck this. This is silly. This league is going nowhere. It's going down the toilet, and the company that made it are now a provable public piece of shit, and we're gonna get some of that shit stain on us, and it's just no longer worth it. And so that's why they're backing out. And unfortunately, the impact of that, who's going to come in and replace those sponsors now? Ask yourself. Again, I know most of you aren't Overwatch fans if you're on my channel, but assuming this does do the rounds, ask yourself who's going to come in now and spend the type of money an IBM, a T-Mobile, a CocaCola. Bad news, guys. That doesn't exist. It was already going to be a hard sell. Pandemic has shrunk marketing budgets. That's probably another factor in why these sponsors have been quick to walk away. But ultimately, no one is going to want to attack. No one of the same size and stature, I should say, is going to want to attach themselves to the Overwatch League in the current landscape with everything that's gone on. And so this bodes really bad. The league has been on a downward trajectory pretty much since day one, with some occasional spikes and arrests. And I know everyone's all like out there high-fiving and saying, oh, but look, we did 200,000 and now look, the average viewership's 100,000 and look at the AMA and look, and if you add Chinese viewership on, and everyone's doing it. The league has failed. It hasn't delivered what it was supposed to deliver. And the one reason people were sticking with the project, particularly the team owners, was that there was this sense that there's a payoff somewhere. As long as we keep getting the corporate sponsor aspect to it, there is a payoff there. Viewership is not the be-all and end-all. If sponsors are still willing to pay the money, we're still willing to host the team. We'll just downgrade the players, replace them with worse players, players with lesser salary demands, and the league will go on. Now, without the sponsors, the owners are really asking themselves, what are we doing here? And as far as I can tell, from what I've been told, there's no long-term solution to this. There really isn't. I mean, you can't. It's an unsolvable problem at the moment. So things are looking bleak. You know, I maybe pivot into online. Everything else gives it another season or two. Maybe they just really reduce the size. Maybe some people sell up their slots and Activision-Blizzard don't sell those slots on. Who knows? But when you have a mass exodus of sponsors like this from a league, I mean, common sense tells you that this is very, very bad. And I think the Overwatch League is probably on borrowed time. I don't know how much because I'm not psychic, but this is the latest in a long line of terrible headlines for the health of the league. No getting away from it. So those are my thoughts. As always, like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care.